So, it's time for Superman. I'm gonna be honest, I'm someone who hyped this movie up quite a bit. I'm a pretty big James Gunn fan, and I thought he did an amazing job with The Suicide Squad. And of course, I'm a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy. So, I fully expected this movie to be amazing. But after watching it, I gotta be honest, I have some mixed feelings. So, the movie starts with this shot in the trailer where he falls in some snow, and we're shown some text summarizing what's been going on leading up to this point. All of this is fine. I don't need Superman's whole origin story again. What we need to know is his motivations for why he does what he does and why he decided to be a hero. I watched the old Superman movie from 1978, and yeah, his origin is not that interesting. So I'm totally fine with the idea of skipping Superman's origin story. I don't think any of us care about how he got adopted by Martha and Jonathan Kent, or how his Fortress of Solitude came about, or how he got the job at the Daily Planet, or how he started dating Lois Lane. I don't think any of us care about that. But what does matter is his emotional motivations for why he became Superman. It wouldn't hurt to redefine the Superman character now. Man of Steel, which was 10 years ago now, was a different take on Superman. So, this is actually a really great time to define Superman to a new audience that knows nothing about him. We need to know his emotional motivations for why he became Superman and started saving people. I think a lot of Superman stuff gets the character wrong. Most people think of Superman as just a boring character. He's perfect, invincible, and he's just totally flawless. And he doesn't struggle in any way that we can relate to. But I think there's a much more interesting way to approach a character like this. Someone like Superman is supposed to be honorable to a fault. I think the best comparison is Ned Stark. Someone who will do the right thing even at a cost to themselves. Of course, Game of Thrones is different in tone to Superman, but the essence of the character is the same. Superman should do the right thing even at a great cost to himself. And there's a little bit of that in this movie, but it just never felt like a serious enough struggle. It should be portrayed in a way where it's really, really difficult for Superman to be Superman. Seeing Superman physically struggle is never going to be that compelling because the audience know he's never going to get hurt in any meaningful way. And he's certainly not going to die. One of the ways in which this movie tries to overcome this problem is that they introduce this plot point where Superman has to deal with finding out that his Kryptonian parents are actually evil and sent Superman down to Earth to conquer and rule them, not to save them. And I like this idea and concept. The one issue with it though was that I never at any point believed that Superman would be bothered by this. The movie needed something much stronger than this to make us relate to Superman. You need to make it so that Superman, by doing something honorable, loses something truly valuable to himself that we can relate to. So, a good example of that would be Superman does the right thing, but as a result of that, his relationship with Lois Lane gets spoiled, or something like that. That would be a struggle that you could actually get behind because the average person could understand why that would hurt him so much. This is basically the same sacrifice that Spider Man makes at the end of No Way Home. Spider Man No Way Home is a really good example here. The sacrifice that Peter Parker made at the end of that movie has an amazing emotional impact. Since the audience knows that none of the characters are going to die, you need to come up with something else for them to care about. Physical pain is not that compelling. Speaking of Lois Lane, I think this movie actually has a pretty great concept for a relationship between Superman and Lois Lane, but I think they didn't really get into it as much. Lois Lane and Superman's relationship is not going so well. She's an incredibly cynical person and is kind of critical of the whole Superman thing, and she's not really sure about Clark Kent. So they have this argument in the beginning of the movie, and she's honestly kind of a dick. But as the movie went on, I understood why she was written that way. One thing this movie does pretty good is the contrast between Lois Lane's cynicism and Clark Kent's optimism, his belief in seeing the best in everyone. Initially, I was pretty annoyed with Lois Lane in the scene where she interviewed Superman, but it made a lot of sense for her character the more I thought of it. It's a great idea to have a contrast between these two personalities. I think it's important to have a normal person in the movie because I think it makes Superman's good nature seem more special. Despite the fact that this is a movie that takes place in a goofy comic book world, I think it's important to establish that people still behave in normal people ways. Like being selfish and cynical and that kind of thing. Where Superman stands out as the one that's different. He's incredibly good natured and expects the best out of everyone. He's super in terms of his personality as well as his strength. One thing that this movie lacked with respect to Lois Lane is that there was never any reason why she needed Superman. Well, the movie starts out and she is actually a bit reluctant to commit to Superman. As the movie goes on, she realizes he's actually fucking amazing.
and then they get together. And I feel like that's not nearly as compelling as it would have been if they'd established some kind of strong emotional reason for why she needs someone like Superman in her life. So we see Superman go to the Daily Planet just like the 1978 one, and he's clumsy and all of that stuff, and we see a lot of the Daily Planet characters. But the movie didn't really do much with the side characters. The side characters of this movie were mostly incidental. Jimmy Olsen and the other Daily Planet characters just felt like extras basically. They didn't feel like real characters that I should care about. The movie has absolutely no tension as well. I don't care about the side characters. I know that Superman or Lois Lane aren't going to die. I don't even care about the conflicts within the movie. I don't care about the citizens of the fictional city of Metropolis. I don't even care about the people involved in the conflicts of Jaranpur or whatever. Because all the people involved in these things are just no-name extras. It's like fucking Alderaan from Star Wars. No one gave a shit when that planet got destroyed. It's like the least impactful death in all of fiction.
You're never gonna get the audience to care about the average citizen that exists within the world of a movie. Even if the planet gets destroyed, all they're gonna care about is the main character or maybe some of the side characters. And that depends on how well they're written. I just rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy, and that movie has significantly more tension. Even if you know that the characters aren't going to die, there are at least other things that you root for. Like, you root for the characters to get together and become friends, or you root for them to get redeemed or to achieve their goals. And more importantly, in Guardians of the Galaxy, somehow the movie makes you care about the characters. Even though I'm rewatching it and I know what happens, the emotional experience works. In the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, no one cares about Xandar or whatever. We just care what the Guardians of the Galaxy are doing. Moving on with the plot. At this point in the movie, we find out about Superman's Kryptonian parents being evil. Superman turns himself in, and the government hands him over to Lex Luthor to keep him imprisoned. Right before Superman goes to jail, there's a scene where Superman is saying goodbye to Lois Lane, and there's just this giant interdimensional being in the background fighting the other heroes. And I like that this is a goofy comic booky world like that. This section of the movie is actually pretty enjoyable. I liked seeing Superman escape. I liked the action scene with the elemental guy and the dog. Meanwhile, we see what Mr. Terrific is doing on the surface. Mr. Terrific, by the way, who's just inhumanly cool. And it's sometimes you just have a character that's just super cool, and it doesn't matter that they're two-dimensional, and that's just how it is. I like the scene where Superman talks on the bench with Jonathan Kent and gets some support. I like the concept in this movie of Superman's Kryptonian parents being evil, but I just wasn't convinced that Superman would care about such a thing. For some reason, I just never believed that Superman would have such an issue with this, or it would be taking such a toll on him. But that aside, the scene itself with Jonathan Kent was pretty good. That's kind of the thing with this movie, is that there are so many individual scenes that are so well done, but the movie just doesn't have a strong, effective emotional core. Anyway, right after this we come in on the climax of the movie, the final battle. And yeah, it's really brought down by the fact that nothing you care about is at stake. You know Superman or Lois Lane aren't going to die. The only characters that could die are insignificant. I don't care about the average citizens of this world, and there are no emotional factors at stake either. The action was pretty good though. The camera follows around Superman as he goes around and beats people up, and it's actually very pleasing to watch. It's very relaxing, actually. The aesthetic of this movie in general was pretty good, and it was held up by the amazing visual effects. Anyway, so Superman wins, and then the movie ends. The casting in this movie was very good. I thought David Corenswet is Superman. I don't think there's anyone else more suited to play the character. And I think Henry Cavill was good. But it's actually just insane how Superman this guy is. And of course, all the other actors were really good as well. Apparently, Nicholas Hoult auditioned for Superman, but he was so bad at it, they cast him as the opposite. But jokes aside, I think Nicholas Hoult was amazing in this movie. I think he's a generally really good actor, and he portrayed Lex Luthor very convincingly. You really see the emotional side of why Lex Luthor is doing what he's doing, and that's what it's all about, man. I really like the clarity of Lex Luthor's motivations in this. Having a villain with clear motivations helps the movie quite a bit. These two are definitely the breakout performances of the movie. So to sum up my review of Superman, I think everything in the movie was perfect except for the writing. The acting, the VFX, the direction, everything was done perfectly. The only thing that could have been improved was the script. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a pretty big James Gunn fan. I think he has a great aesthetic and brings a great sense of humor to his movies. I love the way in which he uses pop songs. I think he's one of the few directors that does it right. So many other movies have tried to imitate this and it just doesn't work as well. I love the song at the end of this movie as well. It's honestly amazing how many great songs I've discovered through James Gunn movies. It's great, dude. I do think I'll probably watch this movie again because of the aesthetic of the world, and that definitely is a point in the movie's favor. So, yeah, in general, I thought the movie was alright. I really wanted to rate this movie higher, but I gotta be honest, it's a 6 out of 10 for me. I do hope they make another one, and I hope they get the script right this time. I am curious about that Supergirl thing as well that they teased in this one, but we shall see. So that's it for Superman, I guess. Next up on the channel, it's F1 with Brad Pitt.